Hi you guys, it's Ruby from Oofy Scraps, and I am back with chapter 2 of my Joshua Tree birthday mini travel album, which is such a title. So as with many of these mini albums I've done in the past, I break them up into multiple parts, but for my own self, I have decided to title them chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. I feel like that looks nicer. It's a little cuter than part 1, part 2, which feels a little impersonal, lacks creativity. I don't know. It's a very minor thing, but it's a change that I wanted to make and noticed. So if you happen to be a person who pays attention to details like that, you might notice that in the title. Anyways, we're back with chapter 2 of this album, and I'm actually working on the part where we're in Joshua Tree. So if you missed part 1, I will link that up in the cards, and you can go ahead and rewatch that, or not rewatch, you'd be watching it for the first time. Check that out, see the whole deal, but now we're actually in Joshua Tree. So we arrived, of course, we arrived in the nighttime because, you never leave as early as you plan to, but we arrived at this place, and we ended up renting a piece of property, I guess. It was literally just land. There was no buildings or anything on it. And it was really cheap, and it was available, and it was really close to the park. So it worked out really well for us, but when we arrived in the night, we didn't really know what we were arriving to because it was dark. So we just plopped a squat, put our tents up, made a fire, and that's what that first page was. I kind of whizzed through it really quickly. But now this second spread, I have a wider photo. It's like a 4x8 size, and I wanted it to be like a panoramic almost picture, and it's just showing like our camp setup. So obviously it's a 4x4 album. It wouldn't fit. So I did this also in my Coachella album that I made. I will link that up in the cards for you guys as well. But so if you saw that, you've seen this little technique before. But I just cut the photo down to the size of the rest of the outside of the page protector pictures or photos. And then the little extra chunk, I sliced that side off, and I'm creating a hinge with some washi tape. So that's what you're seeing me do here, making sure it lines up perfectly and leaving the littlest bit of space between the halves of the photo. If you bump them right up against each other, it won't bend really easily. So there's that tiny bit of washi tape showing, but it doesn't bother me at all. And it's like the perfect little hinge. I think it's a fun interactive element. It doesn't add too much bulk, and it allows you to have different orientations of photos in your album. So then obviously it folds over itself, so I'm going to cover that up with a little bit of pattern paper, and it's an opportunity for embellishing. It's a place to have journaling, things like that. And then I also wanted to create a little tab, and rather than use the Avery index tabs, I'm using this little tab punch that I got from scrapbook.com. I think it might be We Are Memory Keepers or something, but it literally just punches a tab, like a flat tab, off of a piece of pattern paper. So I punched 2 matching tabs off of this little scrap of paper, and I'm going to adhere them back to back. So it's a double-sided little tab that I can stick in between this photo and the pattern paper I used to cover up that side of it. That was a little bit wordy and technical, but hopefully you know what I mean. And also watching it happen before your eyes should be helpful in getting you to understand it. So now I'm just attaching that little tab, and then I will go ahead and cover it with pattern paper. And then I guess I could tell you all of the players in this story. So me, I was there, obviously. And then my boyfriend, Steven, came. And then my friend, Mark, who I went to high school with, and he also coaches track with Steven and I. And our friend, Milo, who is my boyfriend, Steven's friend from like elementary school. So they all came. Oh, and also my friend, Tyler, who is also, we went to high school together, friends with Mark. We also ran track with him in college. It's a small circle. So they're all the ones who were there. And also my friend Olivia, who you can see in that top right corner, her and her boyfriend also came. They just came the next day. So that's our little campsite. You can see us all set up. And originally, Mark has his own tent. Milo has his own tent. We were going to stay in a tent, Steven and I, and then Tyler was coming. But Tyler is our, bless his heart, our last minute friend. He's not a planner. He flies by the seat of his pants. So he's like, I'll come, but I don't have a tent. I don't have anything I need to camp. So I was like, you're fine. You can just stay in our tent and we'll sleep in the back of the car. So we brought like my family's SUV that we've had since like when my mom drove it around when we were kids. So we drove in that because it was the biggest car and we all drove together. Except for Tyler came down separately because he's coming from Santa Barbara and we were coming from San Diego. So we were like, we'll just sleep in the back of the car because it's an SUV. We can lay down the back seats. It'll be perfect. So we slept in there. Tyler slept in our tent and it was all good. So now I'm creating this opposite page. It's just kind of like a filler layout situation. I'm using some washi tape, some pattern paper, this cute little tag that has like kind of a matte print, and then I was really excited to get to use this larger wood veneer tent that was from an Ali Edwards travel collection at some point. So it's pretty big and it doesn't really work in very many settings, but we were actually staying in tents, which we don't normally do. I'm more of like a cabin RV type of a person. It's just what I tend to do on trips more often. So we were actually tent camping, so I was excited to get to put that to use. And I just kind of created a filler page there. So nothing really to it. I put a little away from the Wi-Fi word sticker. And then when I opened up this little flap, I had this like a lot of blue sky empty space, which I definitely do intentionally when I'm taking photos. I consider like, I'm going to obviously use it for my scrapbook. What could I create with this photo that will become a good home to an embellishment, a spot for journaling, etc., etc. So I'm creating this kind of cute little cluster here. Again, there's a little tent sticker that is from that Simple Stories sticker book. So I have to use it when I have a tent moment. So it's going to be very tent heavy on this little spread. But yeah, I just put that same orange washi tape, which becomes a star of this album. I use it a lot. It's from Hobby Lobby. It came with it was a 2-pack with that pink smiley face washi tape that you can see in the top right corner of the screen. Also, just noticing how chaotic my desk is. This is very real for how I scrapbook. I try and keep things together. Like I try and keep all the little pieces of trash in the same little pile and stuff, but it gets really chaotic really quickly. So hopefully that's not overwhelming for your eyes to see all of the sort of disaster. But I am kind of like a tornado scrapbooker. I would love to be very clean and orderly as I go, but I just get excited. I get in the zone. I'm pulling things out, putting things away, trying different things here and there, and it's just what the reality of the situation is for me. So hopefully that doesn't bother you guys too much, but here's what we're doing. So now I put that little pink star paper to cover the back of the little photo flap. I have this cute little Wish You Were Here. I think it's like a piece of ephemera from a little ephemera pack. And again, some more of that orange washi tape to tie it all in. So I'm creating kind of like a mini layout here, like a little mini embellishment cluster, and just adding some layers of embellishments. And then of course, one more tent is going to pop in here. It's actually the exact same sticker as the one I put on the inside of the flap, but it's the puffy version. So again, I don't tent camp that much, so I'm taking advantage of these opportunities to use all of my tent things. And then again, out of that same sticker book, I grabbed a couple of phrase stickers and I just stacked those up. I thought that turned out really cute. And we're moving on to the next spread, just like that. So here I'm using this cute green and white gingham print pattern paper from Ali Edwards, just adding the holes, lining up with the previous spread. And I also have this cute little phrase thing that was like a cut apart from the Ali Edwards. Both these pages or papers were from last year's Ali Edwards travel collection, the 2022 collection. So the square has like a little travel type phrase on it, and it was like a part of a 10x8 sheet that you could cut apart. So I thought it was cute. The color scheme works well with my photo that's on the other side, and I just thought it was a good way of using the page. I didn't want it to be like cluttered up with photos, so I thought these kind of embellishment filler pages were a good little break. it gave me an opportunity to be decorative and scrapbooky without clogging up the photos, and it just worked out well. So now I'm creating a little cluster. I was trying to see if I want to use either of those little fabric badges or sticker things, but I end up just using another one of those little tab punches. I punched out another little tab with that punch I used earlier. And then I think I used that little half circle yellow pattern paper thing I punched out. And I just think that's a cute little, or do I do it? No, I put that badge down. That's right. This little Allie Edwards fabric sticker. It has like a mountainscape on it. I put that down because it's a good color for the photo that's like joining on the other side. So at this point, it's this next day, which is our first full day in Joshua Tree. We woke up in our little camp, like you saw in the earlier spread, and then we got in the car and we went to the national park. So we weren't staying in the actual national park, we were staying just outside of it. So we got in the car and drove to the park. Of course, I grabbed a park map, and at this point I realized that because I wasn't using full page photos, which I talked about in the last video, I had to incorporate a lot more pattern paper, and I wasn't sure that I loved all the pattern papers so much. So I was trying to think of what I could use as pattern paper that'd be more of a background, would work more with my color scheme, and I realized I should cut up the map and make a bunch of little pattern papers out of that. So I don't think you actually see me use this in this chapter, if you will, but in the next chapter or next video, you will see I cut down a bunch of the map and it turns into a really cute pattern paper. But right now I'm just flipping through pretty much everything we worked on, and that is pretty much it for this video. I hope you enjoyed this quick little look at my process, and I will catch you in the next one for chapter 3. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye guys.